Hi guys, welcome to Vue Crash Course. So the question is, what is Vue? Well, Vue is one of the most popular JavaScript frameworks out there besides React.js and Angular. So now let's just take a look at my computer screen. I will show you the official website of Vue. So here you can see that this is the Vue 3 homepage. We will learn Vue 3, which is the latest version of Vue, and you can see that it says it is the progressive JavaScript framework, and there are a lot more information down here. And you might be asking, why are we using Vue? So there are three main reasons to this. First of all, it is easier to learn compared to React.js. It is fast and lightweight. And last but not least, it is becoming more and more popular. And since this is a JavaScript framework, it is recommended to learn JavaScript first. I also have a crash course on JavaScript, so you can check it out. I will leave a link in the video description. And what are we going to learn in this crash course? Well, there's a tons of topics that are covered. We will learn how to create Vue project from scratch. We look into folder structure, how prop works, PrimeVue, which is the Vue UI component library, which is similar to Material UI in React that we also going to install again, which is the PrimeVue. We learn how to create different components, look at the grid systems, and we create a form, also add update and delete function will also be covered. We learn how to fix the data from the actual database, and post update and pull request will also be made that we cover in this crash course. So there's a lot of topic, as you can see, and there are more than that, of course. So now let's just take a look at the project that we will be learning in this crash course. And here you can see this is the project. By the end of this crash course, you will be making, or you going to get the actual or the same project as you can see here. So there's a form up here where it says the name, age, and also the image URL that we can also put here. And once we click on the button save, then a new card will be added to this right here down there. So now let me just quickly demonstrate that to you. I will just create or try to add a name. Let's just say I will give this pet a name. Let's just say Max. Age, I put it as 1. Also for the image URL, I already copied that, so I just paste it here. When I click on this button, you can see that it will make a request to the backend. And here you can see a new card is created, which is called Max, and also the age is 1. So for the button here, we can also remove the card that we don't want anymore. So let's just say I want to create or try to delete this card, right? I can just click on this button right here. There will be a pop-up asking, are you sure you're going to delete or remove this pet? Well, if I click OK, then we will make a delete request to the backend, and it will be deleted. Also, if I want to add, let's say, this card right here, the pet name Bean, I want to add this card to the favorite list. I can also do that by clicking on here. You can see that it will use the put a request to the backend. And whenever I try to refresh the page here, you can see that it still stay here, right? Because it already made that request to the backend. So this is the project that we'll be learning. Also, let's take a look at the about page. Here you can see we have here saying welcome to our first #1 online pet collection in Melbourne, Australia. And there's a lot of topic again, like I mentioned, that I'm very excited to show you this. And now, without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so first you will need to install Node.js. Here is the website, nodejs.org. And what you need to do, you just need to click on this button right here. Then the file will be downloaded, and you just need to install Node.js onto your machine. And next one here is the Visual Studio Code. This is the code editor where you'll be going to write the code, and you can come to the website here, then press on this button. In this case, I'm using Windows, so that's why you can see here. If you are using the other operating systems, you can download this as well. So once you have this download it, then you just need to install as well. And next one, so this is the Vue.js. So now we're going to install Vue applications. And first you just come to the website, then click on this get started. And now let me just scroll down. Here you can see getting started with the installation button. Press on that. So let me just scroll down a bit. Here you can see that we have the CDN option. So say if you already have the JavaScript project, then you want to implement Vue.js onto that, then you can also do that as well. But what I'm going to go with is the CLI. So basically we're going to use the command here, either yawn or npm. So now let me install using this CLI. What I need to do, I'm going to use the npm. So copy that. And now let's come to this terminal. I'm going to navigate to my drive, and I'll just need to basically paste everything and install this one here. Alright, so Vue CLI has been installed globally using this command right here. So next things, I'm going to create a Vue project. So the command will be Vue create, and just give this one a name. The project name, it will be Vue, let's just say Vue crash course. Alright, in my drive, and press on the enter key. And here you can see there's a few options that we need to choose, whether we're going to go with the Vue 2, Vue 3, or manually select the features. So I'm going to go with the third option. Press on the enter key, and here we're going to go with the choose Vue versions. That's fine. Verbal, I'm going to select that. TypeScript, leave it like that. Router, I need that as well. So vuex here, this is similar to Redux in React. So we're not going to focus on that. So this one, I don't need that as well. Right now, we only focus on choosing these three options. So 1, 2, and router here. Then press on the enter key. And right here, it allows us to choose the versions of Vue. I'm going to the latest version, which is Vue 3. And right here, it asks whether we want to use the history mode for the router. Yes. And press on the enter key. And here there are two options. I'm going to go with the first one, which is the dedicated config files. And right here, it asks me whether I want to save this present for the future project. I'm going to type no. And now it's installing. Okay, the project is now installed. Now let's just take a look at my drive D inside this folder right here. So this is the Vue crash course, and these are all the files. And now I'm going to open this folder inside the Visual Studio Code. So here you can see that I have opened it here. Before getting into each of the folder, I'm going to explain you. Now let's just go back to the terminal and quickly run this here. So it will be cd vue crash course. You can also see the command here as well. So I navigate to this folder here, then I'm going to run this using npm run serve. Alright, the app is now running at this local IP address here. So I'm going to copy this, pressing on the Ctrl C, and come back to the website. I'm going to paste it here. And here you guys can see we have successfully installed Vue app. So this what you can see here, this is the default applications that you can see. Welcome to Vue.js app, and there's a lot more here. Okay, so now let's just come back here, and what I'm going to do now is right here we can just terminate this for now. So pressing on the Ctrl C on your keyboard and press on the Y, and then we want to terminate this one, and we can now close this. The thing that I'm going to show you is to instead of using the command prompt, we can also use the integrated terminal as well. So we press on the button terminal here and click on this option.
And now you can see we have the exact same thing, and I want to run this. Well, just use the npm run serve. Okay, so it is now up and running. Let's take a look here. Let's refresh this, and you can see we can have this up and running using that integrated terminal as well. So I'm going to close these two for now. Let's just come back here, and the next thing that I want to show you is to quickly go to the extensions here and pressing on that icon. And what you need to do, you can search for this real quick, Vuetify. When you search for this, there will be an option saying install. Then you just need to press on this icon here to install this extension. And the other one, which is this prettier extension, that you also need to install as well. Just search for this title here. There will be button to install. Then once you have successfully installed these two extensions, now let's just come back here to the front page here and press on your keyboard Control Shift plus P. Then you can just search for open settings, select the first option, and here you will need to add this line of code into your settings.json, as you can see here. So yours might be a little bit different from me, but you just need to import this code right here, then it should be good to go. Right here, what it does is to basically it will format this for us, right? So whenever that we're going to go with this option, say the source file, then the app.vue with the extension of vue here, whenever that we want to format that, then this is required. And the next things that I want to show you is go to the file preferences, and the first option, which is setting. And right here, what you will need to do is to just come to this one and then search for on save. So by default, this will be unchecked, so format on save here, right? Then you will need to click on this. So what this option does, so when I come to this app here, and when I try to say indent this like that, then whenever that I press on the Control S, it will automatically reformat this for me. So that's the purpose of using that. And now we have everything set up and configured, including the extension as well. Now let's just quickly look at the folder structure. So by default, this is what it looked like. We have the public index.html, and right here you can see this is what it looked like now. And what we need to do, we want to update the title. So now let's just take a look here. You can see that we have by default view crash course, but I want to change it to look something like this, view crash course, right? So when I save it, and let's take a look here, and you can see that the title has now been changed. Okay, so now let me just scroll down here. You can see we have the div here, right, with the ID, which is the app inside this source folder. Click on the main.js, and here you can see that we have the app right here. So whenever that we may change onto all of the file here, then it will just mount that app and show it under this div right here inside the index.html. So let's just take a look at the main.js. We have the create app coming from Vue. We have the app from the Vue app.vue router as well. So this will just create the app using the app coming from this component here, and we use the router. So by default, when we first set up the project, we select the router, and that's a reason why we can see it here. And now let's just take a look at the app.vue. So what it consists of, we have the router link. It will link to the home and also the about. So here you can see we have the home and about up here. And now let's just take a look what's else. Also, I want to mention that we have the three sections. So we have the template, we have another one normally in the middle called script, and this one here, this is the style. So this is pure CSS, as you can see here. the nav and everything. We have the index.js. So index.js, we just import from the home. We have the routes, two different routes. We have the home, which is the home page. The component is the home, and we also have the about. Down here we will need to update in a minute. Now let's take a look at what else. We have the component and also the view folder down here. So first let's take a look at the home.vue, and here you can see we have this again same section. We have the template, we have the script. So here inside the home.vue, basically we import the hello world, which is coming from here. So once we import that, we will need to register the hello world inside this component here, and then we up here we are able to use that. And this is just the prop that I will try to explain you in a minute as well, and see what else inside this about.vue. It just show this is the about page, nothing else. And let's just take a look at the component hello world here. So we have again the same thing, and whatever that you can see here, the content coming from here, right? It is basically all of the content here onto the website. And now let me just scroll down. Here we have the script. So this just using the prop with the message with string. Again, I will just show you in a minute. I try to explain you that. And we have the style here, and this file basically it is not required. So what I'm going to do, I just get rid of this for now, and let's just move this to the cycle bin, and that's delete. And here it is, you can see failed to compile with one error because this doesn't exist. And right here we no longer need this import. Let's just get rid of this, and the same for the component up here. Also with the component here, we just need to get rid of this and save that again. Let's come back, and this is what we want, right? We also don't want to have the image as well. Let's just save that quickly. Take a look here, it automatically refreshes, and you can see we have this home and the about. So now let's just take a quick look at the router. We have this index that I was talking about. We actually don't need this because this is for the lazy load. Let's just get rid of this for now. And what we want is to use this format right here, the component, right? So the component, and we will need to use the about. But before we going to use that, we will need to import it up here. It will be import about from this location, which is the same one, about.vue, and let's just quickly save that, and it worked just fine. Okay, now let's just come back here, quickly go back to the app.vue. And here you can see we just use this format right here, which is /about, and here we have the about. So I want to update this to say using the vbind. So the format will be v-bind colon, and inside this double quote we can replace this with this bracket, and we can just use name the about. All right, let me just quickly save that and take a look here, refresh this, and now when I go to the about, you can see that we still have the same result. So what is the purpose of changing this the default one to this format right here? Well, basically if we want to say index.here.js inside the router folder, say if I want to later on I want to change this to maybe about us page or something like this, right? So I don't need to go to each of the page and then try to change it one by one. As you can see here, right here, we only use the component name here, right? So right here, this is the component name itself, and when I want to change, I just need to change the path here, and then it works just fine. Okay, so that's the benefit of using this right here. Okay, so now I have already added this additional CSS code inside the app.vue right here. So I add the body, which is the margin of 0, and I update here as well the nav using the flex space between center with the background of this color here. Then we also have the color here as well, and the padding. So this the top and bottom we have 20 pixel, and the left and right, which is 50 pixel. Down here we have the nav, which is the A tag, and I use the text decoration, which is none, and we keep this one the same one. Now let's just come back here, and here this is what it look like right now. It look a little bit better than the previous one. We have the home, we have the about, and I want to get rid of this as well. So this right here, save it, and here you can see this is what we got so far. Okay, so now we have this as well. Let me just close this for now. Now let's just open home.vue. So here this is what we have now. What I want to do now is to create two files. First one is the paths.vue, and the second one will be individual path, and this is a list of paths inside the component here. Okay, so let's just come back here to the home.vue, and now what I'm going to do underneath the components, I'll just define the data. So make sure that this is the functions. Don't confuse it using this format here, right? And here I can just say something like returning the object like that. And now let me just try to type out the data that I want to display. All right, so here I have this paths data. So this is the array, which is inside here. We have individual object with the ID, the name, and also the age of the pet and the image. And we also have the favorite. By default, this is set to true. Down here we have another one, which is name Coco, age, and also the image. For this one here, this is the is favorite, set it to false by default. Okay, so now we have this data. Okay, now let's just come to the paths.vue, a list of paths. What you need to do, you just need to type the view and press on the tab key. Then it will generate this template for us. Okay, now let's just come back here real quick. We're going to import it here. So under the script, now we just need to import paths from components, and right here we going to go with the paths. And once we import it here, remember to register it in the component here as well. So this will be paths, and up here what we're going to do, we want to pass this data from the parent component here to the child component, which is the paths. Okay, so up here we want to pass that through the props. Then what we can define, it will be paths like that, and we want to pass that data. So this will be we will need to use the vbind that looks something like this. Paths equal to paths right here. So this is what we're going to pass our data to. So this is the actual data, and this is the name of that prop, and this is the vbind that we will need to use. So this is one way that we can write it like this, or you can just use the shortcut, which basically get rid of the front part, and it will work just fine. Okay, so again, I just want to recap. We want to pass the data from this home component to the pets component, which looks something like this. And remember to register putting it here as well. So now let's just come back again to the pets.vue. So here, what we're going to do, we want to loop through this data. So under the templates, we want to, let's just give this a div. Let's just by default give this name, let's say pets, with the class of pets, and we want to loop through the pets that is coming from this home component. Then what we can do, we can just create another div. We will need to use the for loop. So the syntax will be v-for, and we want to loop through each one. This will be pets in pets. So each individual pet inside this array, and then make sure we want to also have the key as well. Otherwise, we will see the warning message inside the browser. So that's the format, and here I want to show it to the screen. Let's just say I use the h3 tag, and I want to display it. This will be pet dot, I want to display the name in this case. Then this is the format would look like. Inside the script here, don't forget to add the prop as well. So this will be propped. We will have the pets, which is coming again from the home component. And what is the type? Well, the type is array type. Okay, so now let me just save that and take a look here. And this is what we get. You guys can see I just loop through the pet's name. Right now we only have two objects, and this is the result that we get. Okay, so it's working fine. Alright, so what I'm going to do next, right now we can pass the data from home to the pets component, and now I want to pass this pets here into another component, which is the child of this parent component, and this is the individual pet. Okay, so we just try to break down it into like smaller components. So this is just an example of showing you each one of this. Let me just comment this one for now, and the same thing right here under the script. I want to import pets from the pets here. All right. And down here underneath the props, I want to use the components. We want to register this pets component here, and now we can use these pets here. So up here I can just say pets like that, and I want to pass each individual data, each individual pet through the prop in this component here to this child component. Okay, so right here this will be, we're going to use the bind again. This will be the pets with the name here, which is pet, and I pass the data which is here into here, and it will go through this child component. Now let me just try to create a template right now, and this here the export default. This will be the props, and this will be pet. The type will be object. Okay, so the type here, this is array, and inside array we have the individual objects. So this is what it's supposed to be. The template, we have the class here. Let me just give this a name, although we don't have anything. Let's just do that real quick. I use h3, the same one. This time the same thing. Let's just do pet.names. So here, let's just quickly save that. Take a look here, refresh, and you can see we still have the same result, which is basically we passing the data from the home component to the pets component here through props. Right here you can see, and finally we show the data which is inside this pets view, which is individual pet. Also, I want to mention that for the props here, You can also use this format as well. So this will be, let's just say pet like that, right? So let me just comment this one. Don't forget to also add a comma here. And now let's take a look here. You can see we still have this result. So it is recommended to use this format right here because we can specify like the type of this prompt. Next, let's implement the card inside this pet component. So now let me just quickly show you here. We have the Vuetify, we have the Quasar, and also this one here, the PrimeVue. So for this one here, it is not fully support for the Vue 3, and that's only this one here recommended to use when it comes to the version 2. Okay, so just want to mention that we have a few options that we can choose from, but this one, the Vuetify, it is quite popular for the Vue 2. And for the Quasar here, it supports version 3, but the thing is that whenever you try to install this Quasar using the CLI, then we have to do it from scratch, or you can also try to add it to the existing one, but then the folder structure will look a little bit different from here. So that's a reason why I don't want to use the Quasar for this project here. But you can see there's a tons of format or the design that we can choose from here. Because of the reason here, I don't want to install everything from scratch, and it will look a little bit different from here if we install it using the Quasar CLI. So now it comes to the PrimeVue. This is what we're going to install. So for this one here, it also supports the Vue 2, and what you can see here, this is the Vue 3 that it also supports. Now before we can use all of the code you can see here, we have to install it. Now let's just click on the get started, and right here let me just scroll down, and these are the commands that we're going to use. Let me just copy this to install the PrimeVue onto our existing Vue project. So let me try to terminate this one here, paste it here, and it is now installing. And also want to let you know that if you don't put this one here, it will also install the latest version. So it will be npm install PrimeVue --save without this specifying the version here. It will install the latest version, which is the same thing as you can see here. And next one, while this is installing, let me just try to copy the other one here. Let's just copy that and wait until it finishes, then we can also install another one. Alright, let's paste it here. This will be another one to install the Prime icons. Now we can just run this again. And next, what we want to do, let's just scroll down and see we have the style here. So these are the style that we're going to import it into our projects. So let's just copy these 3 lines of code, and then let's just wait until this finish. Okay, so here in the main.js, we will need to import it down here. So let's just import it. Would look like this. Same for this one. Down here. Okay, and make sure we want to also import this here as well, the PrimeVue. Let's just copy that. So underneath this app, let me just paste it here. So yep, that's what it looked like. Alright, so to use the PrimeVue underneath here, we can just say something like used .use PrimeVue, and we also need to use the repo. Let's just set it to true. I will try to explain you what this one does. It essentially this is the animation for the button. I will show you that in a minute. So now we have this set up, and also if you want to use the each component, then you also have to define it like so. Let's just say dot component. If you want to have like say a button, then you can just do like the button, and it would look like this. And remember, up here we have to also import that button as well. So this will be import button from PrimeVue / button. Okay, so yep, this is basically what the format would look like. Then inside this pad view, we can just use the button right here. But one thing that I want to also state here is that instead of using this format, right, we can also do something like put everything inside this app constants, and then we can move it here. So cut that and paste it here, and then we can just say like app dot like this. Okay, the same for this app, and let's just save it. We'll reformat it for us, and then we can just do separate this. So this is for the component, and last one here, this is the mount. And also let me just try to import the cart right now. Let me just do PrimeVue / cart. So this will be app dot component will be cart, and this is the cart. Alright, so now let's just go back to the pad. So here, if I want to use the let's say the button, then I can just use like button like that. Let me just save it quickly. Going back to this application, and here you can see actually it's showing nothing because we haven't given it a name. So this will be label, let's say save button, and here you can see we have this showing the button, and when I click on it, you can see that animation, right? So this is the rebel that we set it to true inside this man. What if I just set this to false? Let's just do that, and when I click on it, you can see there's no animation at all. So that's the reason why we use this one here. Okay, so now let's take a look again at the cart. Let me just quickly search for cart, and let's scroll down. We're going to use this one here. We have the image shown, we have the title and the subtitle here. Okay, so we have all the code here. And if you want to see the code in the, so we have two options, the composition API and also the option API. We use the first one, and want to also let you know that we don't focus on the composition API in this crash course, but we will do that in the future. Now let's just take a look at the code sandbox here. Alright, so these are the code you can see inside the main.js using the same format as I show you right here. Now let's just go to the card demo.vue, and we want to have this one here. So let's just take a look which part is it. It will be this one here. Let me just try to copy everything here. Let's just copy and paste it, say the pad. Let's just get rid of that, comment that one out, save it. Just want to see what it's showing on the screen. Okay, so yep, we have two cards. As you can see, we have the save, also cancel, but we might probably don't need the description here. So let's just comment this part here. and we need this subtitle and the image. Yep. Okay, so here you can see we got rid of the description. Yep, that looks good. What I want to show you now is to replace the card here with the data coming from our home paths here, right? So will be this format here, path.name. Then this one here will be, let's just say age, path.age. And what else we want to show? This is the button. For the image, let's just use that one for now. Save it. Take a look, and here we have name Ruby, we have age. Same for the second one. Right now it look like this, but then again we will try to reformat this to look into like the grid format, right? So let's just keep it for now, and the image, let's just use this one. Now I want to update this button here. Let's just come back here and then search for the button. This button here, we have different types of button, as you can see. So for this will be the delete button, and the next one here will be the add the path to favorite. It would look using this button right here. Okay, so let me try to click on this one here. All right, we have this. So I'm looking for the rounded icon button. So it will be here, rounded icon button. I use the heart, which is this one. So we're going to replace the first one with this, and because for this one it is the purple one, we want to actually use the red one, which is the P button danger. So let me just save this for you to see what I mean by that first. And here it is. Let's just take a look. Okay, so yep, it will look like this. Also, let's just put this one down here. And we want to change that to, instead of have danger, we want to have to the red one. And yes, this is what it looked like. Okay, so we have this one here, but the thing we want to, let's just say the margin, maybe we set this to 4 to have like a space in between. Okay, like that. Within this card we have space. And what if I say by default this is what it looked like, which is the round outline button. Okay, so this will be this one. So let's just copy this and let's just edit down here. We want to change this to danger. So basically these two lines of code is the same thing. We just need to add this one here, this class CSS class, then it will change this to this one here. Okay, so for now let me just keep these two to stay together like that, and I want to change this cancel color to something else. Let's just say the red one. So this one will be, so instead of this let's just see secondary, so this one is blue, we want the danger. paste that in. And yep, let me change this to remove. Okay, that's look better, but keep in mind that this only have one, so this we will use the data. Then when I click on it, it will try to switch between the two, true to false, false to true. For now, let's just keep it like that. Alright, now instead of showing it into like the next line, as you can see here, I want to have this show next to each other. Let's just take a look at this PrimeVue. Let's just scroll down. We have this one here, the Prime Flex. We have the flex box here. We have the grid system. Okay, so here you can see we have the card here that we can just show it into next each other. Then if there's a new one, it will go to the next line. So yep, let's just install this one here. This is the command. Let's just copy that. Go back here, terminate this, pressing Ctrl C, paste it here. Okay, let's start this again. Alright, to use the PrimeVue, we have to import this line of code here. Copy this, go back, and now let's looking for the main.js. So underneath this CSS, let's import another one, which is the Prime Flex. Save it. Go back here. Let's see the grid system. I want to, yep, see the code as well. Just open that and close this too. While it is loading, let's see what else we have. We can have this responsive, and there are more. We can also grab the code here as well. Okay. All right. So we have the responsive. Let's just take a look at the code. Grid demo. Okay, so the responsive, they are using the class which is pgrid. Let's just use this class here. Copy it, go back. So right here they have each individual card, as you can see here. So now let's just scroll down a bit, see if they have something. Okay, so they have this dynamic. This will apply to us. So let's just come on top here. So they are looping through this using the v4, the same as we used. And then the class, which is pgrid, the same one that I was going to use, the bottom one down there. So I think let me just use this one here. And coming back here, it will be inside the paths. And right here, let's just replace this with this class here. And then let's just take a quick look. Okay, so yep, guys, you can see we have this grid. But the thing is that right here, we haven't specified anything yet. And we will also use the responsive here as well. Okay, so let's just take a look at the responsive one. Search for it. Like that, we use this class here. So this one here is based on different screen size. If it's super large, then it show like 3. Let me first copy everything and then show you afterward. So just put the, why do I have to copy everything? Let's just copy, yep, paste the class here. Should be good to go. And now look at this. yep, we have this. So let's just scroll down. Here we can have a look at this. So for the LG, this is for the device which is the light screen like desktop. For the MD, this is like tablet, and SM, this is only for the small devices like the mobile one. So yeah, this is, we have already specified like the MD, the tablet screen size, and also this one here, this is for like the laptop. And the columns, let's just set it as 12 for now, but if you want to experiment more figuring out, you can try to change the number here. So yep, this is what we have now. If you can see the image, it's not looking like the normal image, right? So now let's just take a look again at the pad.vue. So the card here, they have specified like the width with this width here, and also the style here. Let's just get rid of this, see what happened. See if that helps. Not really, guys. So now let's just get this one as well. We don't need to specify the height of the card. Okay, so yep, this is the normal one. You can see the image, it's just showing everything here, right? And the card with the name here. So yep, this is what we expected to have. Next, let's add the form. So there will be like a text import to import the name, the age, and also the URL to this image. And there will be like a button to save it. Then we can see a new card when we try to add a new one here, right? So now let's just try to search for maybe form. We like form layout here. So here we can you can see we have the different type of form. I think we're going to go with this one here. Let's just see if we can find the code down here, the inline. Yeah, let's just copy this, all of this, and go to here. We will need to create a new component. Let's just call this one here add_pad.vue and try to create the template, and I paste everything here. We have the form group, but here, if you still remember, we haven't imported in the main.js yet. We only have the button and also the card. So next will be import text from. The same thing, this will be import text, and then we also want to have the app component will be import text, and here this is the input text, like that. Okay, let's just save it. Okay, now come to the home.vue. Here we want to import that component, which is the add_pad. This will be components /add_pad. And then down here we also need to use or register this component here called the add_pad. And then we want to display it. So this will be like that. And actually this one is not required. Let's just comment this one out and save it. Refresh this. And here we can see that we have the first field, second one, and also the button here. Let's just try to change that. So let me just quickly change all of this to say just name. This is just name. Same for this one. And down here, let's just do the age. This will be age. Same for this, and then we want to have another one actually, so let's just copy this, paste down here. This will be URL, the image URL. Let's just do image URL, change this to capital letter, name. Okay, and then instead of like the submit, let's just change this to save. Okay, so we have the name, age, URL. So for this age, I want to maybe only accept the number only. Let's just change the type to number. And from here, okay, so right here when I type any letter, it doesn't actually accept, it only accept the number type. Okay, and then what else do I have to do? Let's also add another div. I want to add like a space. This will be, let's just use the inline styling, will be margin top, set this to 20 pixel, save it, then we have this here. Now let's just take a look at the path.vue. So far we haven't really worked on right here the home.vue. You can see we have the is valid, this is by default true, and this is false. So we want to also have the condition in the button here to show the correct one, right? So now let's just add the condition to this button. Let me just use the second one here. So this will be the class, and to use the condition, or let's say like the dynamic value, we have to use the vbind, and then inside the double quote I use this array. So here let's just say if this path.is favorite, it is true, then we don't want to have anything at all. But if that is false, then I want to add this one here, which is the p does button does outline. And if we want to use the other one, the existing one, we just need to have the comma and then the single quote, the same for the others. So these are the default value that we have to use all the time. So the only condition that we want to have, if this is true, nothing happening, but if it is false, then we want to add additional, which is this one right here, this class. So now I think we can get rid of this for now. Let me just save it, go back here, and now here you guys can see let me just go back to this one here. So by default, the first one, it is true, and this is false for the second one. So if that's true, then it's showing me this one here. If it is false, then it's showing here. Now let's work on the button right here. So on top here, this is the remove button. To add the event to it, we have to use this add symbol dot click. Then we can specify the function name or the method name, and this will pass the path.id through this function here. And then down here, if you want to define the function, we can use the methods and then the name of the function, which is on remove. And inside here, for now I just want to console log to see whether it is get triggering. So just say this as click and have the ID here, right? And let's just take a look. I want to console log this, and this is not required anymore. Okay, let's just click on this remove here, and here you can see we have this click, which is card number 1. What about number 2 here? Again, yep, it is working. It is click here. and you can see that the card is actually responsive when I try to change this. Right, now let's just get back to this. So now we know that it is working. What is the next step? Well, what I want to do now is to basically getting the number or the which card that is clicked, and we want to send that data up above the above one, which is, so right here, this is the child component of this pets component. I want to send that data here, the ID here, to this component, and then from this component, this child component, to this parent component, back to this one here, so that we can work on the delete button. So we have to go to the one level up. So now to do that, we have to use something called this dot emit. This is what we have to use. Just give it a name. It will be, let's just call it as remove pet, and we want to pass that ID to it. Comment this one for now. Let's save it, and above that one level, which is the pets. So to get the data here, I can just use that name, which is remove pets. This will be another emit because we have already get the data right from here to here. Then we want to pass from here to the home component. So this will be the remove pet, and then we pass the pet.id up one level, and you can see that I use directly here inside this component. You can also define it down here the same as this one here, which is I define it inside this method component, or I can just directly use the same format as this one on here as well. But yep, just to show you that we have option to implement. So next, what I want to do, go back to the let's just first save it. Okay, so don't forget down here we have to also use the keywords emit as well. So this will have the remove pet. So once we have that, now let's just come back to the home.vue. So next we want to have the here the data coming from this component will be remove pets, and the name which is remove pet. Okay. Okay, so here I want to define the method. This will be remove pet that take the ID in the parameter, and we want to console log this one. Let's just say it is inside the home, and this will be the ID. Okay, so now let's just try it out. Inspect this one here, and let's take a look at down here. When I click on this here, you can see the ID, which is number 2, and this is the number 1, which basically we send the data. So basically we send the data from this pad here up to this pad, and then up here to the home component. Now we can start working on this once we have that data. So we want to remove this. Let's just do confirm and ask the user that are you sure you want to remove or delete this pet. If that is true, then we can just say this dot pets, which is all the a list of pets, and again this dot pets dot filter. We want to filter out individual pet with the pet ID if that is different from the pet, which is the pet that we get from this pet here. If it is different, then we don't want to have that. We want to filter that one out. Okay, because right now we are working on the static data, like the dummy data. It's not coming from the database, so that's the reason why we just use this one for now, which is the filter function. Let's just save it and then try to test it out. Okay, so here let's see if I want to remove this. Click on this button, and here you can see we have this confirmation dialog asking whether you want to delete this pad. I click on OK, then it's gone. But again, let me just try to refresh this. It will come back because we are not working with the actual data coming from the database via the API. Alright, but we will look into that one as well. Okay, so now we have implemented the remove pad. Here I just want to quickly point out that we use the data which is inside this data here, right? But we can actually try to refactor this one real quick. So what I'm going to show you is to use the created. Let's just put it down here, and this will be created. If you are working with the React, you already know that it is quite similar to use effects. So whenever that we load the page, then this function will take action. Okay, so this I want to use this dot pads and try to cut everything here, right, and put it here. Let me just save that. So right here we cut the data from these pads inside the data. Then we move everything to this dot pads and the same actual data which is here. Now let me just try to refresh this and try to show you whether it is still working the same as the previous one. Let's just do that, and here you guys can see it is still working, right? Now let's look at this pad here. We have done the button for the on remove. Now it's time to look at this one here, which is adding the favorite. So quite similar, we use the add click event, and we want to emit this. We want to, whenever the user click on that, we want to send that data to the home page. So we use that emit. Let's just give this a name. Will be add favorite. This will be the pad.id. Save that and go back up one level. It will be add favorite emit add favorite, and we pass the pad ID. Save that. Remember down here we have to also define as well. Will be add favorite. Go back to the home page. So let's just take a look up here. This will be add favorite equal to the function name. Let's just call this add favorite, like that. And down here, the inside this method, we want to define a new function called add favorite. Take the ID, the parameter, and then let's just console log this. Let's just say it is at the home page favorite button that we added to. Let's just console log that. Save it. Go back here. Let me click on this one, and you can see, yep, it's ID number 1 and this one is ID number 2. So from here we can start using this, which is this .pad. Let me just comment this one. We want to loop through each pad This will be individual path, and then we want to have the path.id if this is equal to the ID that we click on, and if that is true, then we can just do paths, all of the path, right, existing path. But before we can do that, we wrap it inside this curly bracket. Will be spread through all of the paths and is favorite, right? So if the is favorite is true, then we want to do the opposite. So this will be the opposite of that one. Otherwise, we just use the existing one, which is the path. So save that. Let's come here. When I click one, you can see it do the opposite, right? It is working. Now let me just quickly try to explain you again. So what we do here, we want to loop through each of the paths. This is the individual path. If the existing number or the path ID is the same as the ID that we are working on, if that's true, then we want to copy all of the existing path, and if the is favorite, which is the individual that we are clicking on, if that is true, we want to set it to the opposite one, which is false to true, true to false. Otherwise, we want to use the existing one, which is the same one, which is that path here. Hope that makes sense. Now let's work on the add path view. So the form that we're going to work on, let's just here the export default. Let's just add the name. This will be add path, and the data we want to return. We want to have, like, say, the default value, right? So the default one, I want to have this as empty, age empty, URL will be empty. We have the is favorite, so by default let's just set this as false. And to basically have everything here, we want to also use the v, which is this time v model. I'll show you what this one does, but for now let's just have everything up here. The same for this one, v model age. Here we have the v model will be URL. So now I want to try to test this one out. Say I want to print out the this.name. So what this one does, let's just take a look here. Add anything, right? You can see that it is basically try to connect this with this data down here. So you can see it changed on the fly, but not for this one because I haven't really showing anything. So that means that the v model here, it's binding with this data here. Say if I want to put like the age 100 by default, you will then see that it just showing me here. It just bind together. Okay. So this is, let's just comment this one. And we might want to update our form a little bit. So instead of using like the div tag here, whenever the user click on this button, the type here should be submit. So that means we require to have the form. So let's just change this to form, and the same, this will be form. And then what else do we need to add? We need to have this event, which is the submit, and I use the submit here. So this is the name of the function. So once we have that, down here we can just define using the methods. We can have the on submit. We have the the event, and we want to prevent the default. We don't want to have this submitted by default until we click on it. So here we can have const. Let's just say we add a new path. So it will be consist of the ID. For ID, since we don't know what is the next one, we can just for now use the math.random, right? Just having the random data, and with the name, this dot name, age, this dot age. We can have URL, this dot URL, and then down here, let's just console log this. Say new path. Okay, like that. So let me just save it and then test it out. Let's just give a name as bin, age, the image for now. Let me just use find an image and click on this save here, and here we can see that we have the new path with all of the information, the ID, which is the random value, we have the name, we have the age, and the URL that I imported here. Okay, so that means it is working. The thing is that, so say if I have already submit or click on this button, I want to have this to become the default, which is empty field. So to do that, down here I can just say this dot name back to empty, right? This dot age, same will be empty. This dot URL will be empty, right? Save that again. Bin 1 URL, save. Make sure that I need to change this to empty, like that. Now we want to also emit this one as well. So we need to emit this back to the home component because we want to update this data here, right? So let's just come here. It will be this dot emit, will be add path, give that a name like that, and the new path. Back to home, we can just use this here, will be add path. We have the function name, which is add path, and we can just use this add path down here, define the method. We'll take the path itself as that parameter, and this will be this dot paths, all of the paths equal to the existing paths, which is this dot paths, and we add a new one on top of it, like that, right? Okay, let me save. I'm keep using the same one, which is bin h2, and the image URL. Save it. Take a look here. Okay, so the reason is that again we haven't really changed image yet. So now let's just come back to the paths component. We have to replace this with the dynamic one that we have, and this will become we need to bind the source with this equal to the path.url coming from that data that we define, and then we want to have the alt let's just set the default value, which is pet, or you can also do like pet.name as well right here. Now let's just save it and take a look here. Okay, so you can see it is working, but the thing is that for the first two, and that is because, okay, so here you can see we are using the img, but inside the pet here we just looping through the URL. So yep, we just need to change this back to URL, then it should be fine. Alright, here you can see we have this is showing. And one more thing, which is the height of the card is not the same one because the image has the different size. So we have to fix that. To fix this, go back to the pet, and then we can define the style here. So this will be img the image tag, right? So we want to set the height of this to maybe 250 pixel, and then yeah, let's just do it for now like this, see if that helps. Okay, so it does help a little bit, but the thing is that so it changed how the original image would look like. So this will be object fit. We just want to do the cover. Take a look here. Okay, so it just like it still have the same size, but then the image it stay the same, right? It just like zoom in. We just cut off the top and the bottom part of the image, but this one is look a lot better with the same other side. Let me just do that again. Test it with bin h1 image URL, save it, and yep, here I can see it is working. I can also do this save as well, so this will add to the favorite, and I can also delete this, right? Alright, so now it's time to look at using the actual database that we're going to fix the data via the API. So now what you can see here, this is a website where it allows us to create that kind of database. It's called mugapi.io. To get started, click on this button right here and sign in with your Google account. Let me do that real quick. Alright, I have signed in, and we can now create a new project. I will just give this as vue crash course. And for the API prefix, just leave it like that and click on the create button. Now this project has been created. What I'm going to do, click on the new resource and just give this a name. Let's just call this as pets. Make sure that this has to be lowercase, right? And let's just scroll down a bit. We will need to provide the template. So JSON template, let me just copy the one on top here, paste everything here. We actually need this part, and then let's try to change this here. First one will be name, yep, the name of the pet. And then let me just copy, paste it here. We have 4 fields. Second one will be age. Third one will be URL. And this one is favorite. Right? And also make sure that you have to remove this. Otherwise you will get an error. So we have the name, age, URL, and is favorite. Now let's try to create this here. Click on the create button. And here you guys can see we have this created. Let me try to click here and it open up this. So this URL, we have to put it in our application. You can see it is working right now. There's no data at all. So let's just try to go back to the application and work on the fixing data. Now we are back to home. What I want to create, I will try to create a new data. So underneath this add favorite, there will be a new one. Let's just call this one as fixed data, or maybe fixed paths, fixing all the paths. And this will be const. We want to fix that data from that URL that you just seen. Copy this link here and paste it here. So once we have that, then we can just put this into the data, and we use the response.json, and finally we want to return the data back. So here we have to use the async and await. So this is the keyword async, and we wait until this is finished fetching, then we put that, and also the same for this one. This will be the await. So okay, yep, would look like that for the function. And now we can try to actually remove or maybe comment this one out. We, instead of using that static data or dummy data, then we can just directly call await this dot fixing all the paths, which is the function that we define on top here. And if we use the await, don't forget the async keyword on before this create function. Right. Okay, so that's part done. Now let's create another function which is called fix path. We want to fix individual path. Right here we just fix all of the path, right? So we want to fix individual path. This will be const response await fixed the same URL. Let's just copy this and paste it here. But remember that we want to access individual path, so we change this to backtick, and inside here we have to use the data variable. It is dynamic. And then we can do another one which is const data await response JSON. We want to return this data back as well. Then we have these two functions. Now let's take a look at the home page to see if we get anything. So as expected, because there's no data here, and this is the reason why we see nothing. So now let's try to work on the add path. So I will just comment this one out for you guys to see if we want to come back to this. So we will have to create a new add path function. This will be a sync functions, and this will be again the same name, add path with the path. And now inside here we can just do const response the await. We fix that from this URL. Let's just do that here. So we want to make a request to this URL, and inside here this will be the method. This is the post method, because we want to create a new resource or a new data. So we have to use this post method, and we have to define the header as well. So this will be content type application /JSON, and then down here it seems that this one here we actually have to cut this here, and it's supposed to stay here, and then the comma should be in between. Yep, it would look like that. And this body, it will be JSON .stringify, and this will be the path right here. Okay, so now down here outside of this resource, right? We can use this const data. We want to await that, and then do the rest.json, and finally this dot paths equal to the all of the paths, the available paths, plus this one right here, which is the new one that we just add to the database. Okay, so this is what it looked like. Let's just save this and then try to see if it is working. Let me also scroll down here because I want to copy the image URL. So copy that, come back here. Let's just do the same one, ruby h2 image URL, save it, and you can see it just posts to the database, and we can see the result here. But one thing is that you can see here this is supposed to show us which is the false value by default, right? But this one here, it actually showing us the one which is the true. So let's just console log this one real quick. I want to go to the network tab, and then let me just refresh this one. So here we have the paths on top here. Click on that. Let's just see the data. We have the ID. Okay, so is favorite equal to 1. This one actually is supposed to be false. Now let's just take a look at the add path here. We have this one. Oh, okay. So here we supposed to also have the is favorite as well, equal to false. That would look like this. So whenever that we click on that button, then it will just set this default value. So this one it actually not needed. Maybe just get rid of this, and let's just try that one again. So I can just close this, try ruby 2, paste it in, save button, it posts request to the backend, and now you can see it is the correct one. So for this I can get rid of it. Let me refresh this whether it still stay here. Okay, it seems that it is coming back because we haven't really working on the delete the data coming from the backend. We only work on the which is filtering out right here, right? Okay, so that's fine. Let's just come back here. So let's take a look at the add path here real quick. Because the Mux API, whenever that we try to add a new data or a new path onto it, it will automatically generate the ID for us. So that means this is actually not required. We can just comment this one out as well. Now let's just go back to the home. What we're going to do next is to work on this remove paths. So I'll just comment this one in case you want to have it seen again. Then let's just work on the remove path. This will be ID. If actually let's just copy this one here. You sure you want to delete this, and inside we can have const resource await. We fixed we use the backtick this time because we have to know the individual ID. So for the URL, the same one up here, just paste that in and do the ID, and then here a comma, the inside we have to use the method. This time it is the delete. and don't forget to add a comma after this. Quickly save that. Okay, so it will look like this. And down here, let's just say if it is successfully deleted, so if the status equal to 200, if that is true, and then we can just use this one here, the one that we used previously, wrap with the bracket, and if that is true, then we want to filter out everything again. And finally, if it is not successful, we want to alert to the user saying that delete actually fails, right? Just like that. So again, we need to know the actual ID of the path. Then if we find it, we can click, we can use this is delete. So if it is successful, then we filter out the existing one. Otherwise, we're going to show this to the user saying delete fail. Now let's just try it out. Okay, so here we have two. I want to delete the first one. Okay, it make the delete request to the backend. Let's see if I refresh this. Okay, so the data actually gone this time. That means it is working. Next one I want to work on is the favorite, right here, the method. With the add favorite, well, let's just again comment this one out and paste it here, and then I want to update this here. It will be async, the ID the same, get rid of this. We want to have the const add favorite variable await this dot fixed in the view path, fixed path with the ID. So this one we define it down here, right? So now we use it here. Const, we say this one as updated favorite equal to add favorite. So we want to have all of the existing favorite here. The opposite of that will be add favorite. Okay, so this is the add favorite. We get to the is favorite, so we want to do the opposite of that. If it is true, we want to do it false. If false, it becomes true. Okay, so next one, this will be const result await. We want to also fixed. Let's just copy the URL on top here and paste it down here. Okay, and we want to have the method. This time we want to update, so we use the put method. Header, this will be content type application/JSON, and we also need to define the body down here as well. JSON stringify, the same thing with the information here, which is the updated favorite. Okay, so if that is successful, then we want to have the const data equal to awaits rest.json. Down here will be this dot paths, all of the paths. This dot paths we want to map through, loop through it. Will be each path path.id if it is that one, that card that we click on, then we want to use the existing one, right? So this is just spread out the existing card or paths. Then this one here, this will be the favorite data coming from here. Dot is favorite. We want to add that one to the existing one. Otherwise, we want to use the same one, the same or the existing paths. Okay, so this would look like this. Let me just quickly recap that again with this one here. So we want to fix the data, which is the fixed path defined down there with the ID here. We put it into this variable, and then we again just spread out all of this and use the opposite, do the opposite of the, if it is true to false, if false to true, then put it into this variable. And down here we just use the fix with the ID that provided here with the method of put that we're going to update the data in the database with the header, also with this body. How come do I have to have these two? Well, let's get rid of this. This is the old one. Yep, this is what we have, the data. If we have already updated that, then we have the data here. This is the new one coming from the database. And then we want to loop through the existing one and see if there's a new favorite here coming from the database. Then we want to add that one to the existing one. Otherwise, we're going to use the existing path. Okay, so this is what it looked like. Now let's just try it out. Okay, coming back here, we have this one, the existing one. Let's just click here, then it will make a put request to the backend, and now you can see it changed this to the red one. Let's refresh this, it still stay the same, which is it already changed in the backend here. Let me just try to show you that here inside the backend. We can also see the data here, the time, name. The avatar here, it is actually coming from this one here, the default one, so you don't need to worry about that. But this is the one that we added, and it changed to true. When I try to do that and refresh this, it will be false. So now let me try to add a few more so that you can see how the grid works in this one here. Alright, so here you can see I have added more data here. So you can see this is what all of the cards look like. So I can also change or update. Maybe I add this to favorite, add this one to favorite. The same for this one. And what else? Let's just do this one here. And let me just try to refresh this. Okay, so you can see it still stay here. One thing is that right here you can see the card, it's just showing from the left to right. I can also change that as well inside the paths here. You can add the P, JC, it can be like between like this, or also the other one which is around, and there are some other as well. For now, let's just take a look here. When I scroll down here, you can see we have the space in between this grid here. And what if I change this to say around? Take a look here, we have the space around it. So yep, that's something you can also try to add as well. It's look a bit better in my opinion, or you can also get rid of this, and then it will showing like this. Right, let me just put that in, and let's try to update the about page as well. Rather than just saying this is an about page, let's just say welcome to our #1 online pet collection in Melbourne, Australia. Save it, go back here, and now let's just go back here to the about. You can see we have this text showing. Go back here, we'll try to fix from the data database. and we can also add a new one. And yep guys, let me just refresh this one as well. And here you can see all of the data actually showing here that is automatically generate this ID for us using this. I guess that's pretty much it for this crash course, which is very exciting that I can show you from start to finish. And this project, if you have a look at my another crash course with React crash course, exactly the same thing that we try to create this. One thing is that the UI might look a little bit different, but all of the functionalities and everything are all the same. So if you want to also learn how React works, you can also take a look at that crash course as well. I will put a link in that description. And for this crash course, I hope you find it helpful. Don't forget to also like this video and share to anyone who want to learn Vue that you know of. Also subscribe to this channel to see more project-based video or crash course just like this one. Until then, see you guys in the next video.